Welcome back for another installment of your friendly neighborhood comic book dude. I'm your host, the friendly neighborhood comic book dude. Or Nabil, whichever you want to go by. Just wanted to thank everybody. Only been on for about a week or so. Already got a handful of subscribers. Yay. I won't say no to more if you want to like, favorite, subscribe, that sort of thing. I will also say we're going to have some added incentives for continuing to subscribe and follow the videos, and I'm not going to wait to get into them. I don't know if you noticed in the first video, I had a poster hanging up. This is not the same poster. This is another beautiful Marvel poster. It's an Alex Ross Marvel 1000 poster. Very pretty. Your poster in the first video was a lovely Defenders poster. Hulk, Daredevil, and the like. So what we're going to do is, if you like, subscribe, and comment a number every week, I will, at the start of the next video each time, we'll throw those numbers into a randomizer, and I will award the previous poster to the winner. So I think what we'll do is, because we'll have the poster from the first video, and then I'm going to have this one up for grabs in the next video. So we'll actually have 2 posters to give away in video 3. So yeah, keep up on all that stuff. Also, the links for where to purchase any of the things you see in the video will be there. To be clear, I think the way I've decided to do this is we're going to give like a 6-day sort of exclusivity to like Facebook and YouTube in general. Throw up the things on Facebook and the marketplaces and the groups and things. So if you want to either message me right here through YouTube or Facebook, you've got first dibs on these things. If on the 7th day we still have stuff left over, they will go to eBay. There are, of our 5 items that we started with last week, we did sell 2. It's a cool start, for a fledgling channel. And there are 3 that are now up on eBay. What I think we'll do is we will do the eBay stuff on the day before, or at the very latest, the day of the next video. So any of the stuff you see on the channel today, if you haven't already like reached out to me wanting to buy it before the next video, the day, at the very least, the day of the next video, it'll be up on eBay, which the links will be in the description for every time. All right. And I do also want to thank, for these lovely posters, one of our 2 sponsors, who I've had many years of association with since I was a child, Ravenswood Comics in New Hartford, New York. Love you guys, and thank you for the donations. We look forward and appreciate your continued support. Our other sponsor is also Ally Comics, Toys, and Collectibles. Second video, we already get 2 supporters. So, yeah, let's see here. But yeah, let's get going. So last week we delved into Mezco and Living Dead dolls. So we got some more of those. So kind of start off on a familiar foot, and we'll hop into some other things. So our Living Dead dolls that we did have last week were both, I believe, of the coffin. Well, at the very least, there was the one. Yeah, we only had one last week. It was of the coffin variety, which is, a doll inside of like a coffin packaging, and that's like the standard Living Dead doll. In more recent years, as of about 2018, they've started to do like more premium Living Dead dolls, or they're like Living Dead Doll Presents, and they are in boxes with some beautiful artwork and maybe potentially have more premium features. One of the first ones of that would be this lovely Freddy. As you can tell, he's in like a very appropriate box for him. And not only that, he come to Freddy. He makes sound, which is really cool. And I couldn't say for 100%. I almost feel like these ones are a little bit more articulated. I don't know. It could just be the box and the noise, and the figures are exactly the same kinds of sculpt. I don't know. But yeah. So this like I said, this one came out in 2018. We got another one that was in the same vein. We didn't have this for a Living Dead doll last week, but we had an 18-inch nun. Well, we've shrunk her down and decided to go with a smaller nun this time around. So this one is also one of the Living Dead Doll Presents figures. Again, like the boxes are a little bit more specific to the character instead of like a generic coffin. Some beautiful artwork across these, very chilling. Oh. So there she goes again, scaring the living daylights out of people. But yeah, this one also was released 2018. I didn't look into that, but two figures in 2018 who aren't both from 2018 leads me to believe that was probably like the inaugural or maybe around then these presents when started up. But we will harken back to one more Living Dead doll, a little bit more of a classic looking one. This is Lydia the Lobster Girl. Now, if you're like me, the first time I took a look at this, I asked myself, who is Lydia the Lobster Girl? And, I'm no expert, but I do have some level of expertise with horror. But either way, I can always stand to learn more. And I racked my brain, and I'm like, who the hell is Lydia the Lobster Girl? And I did some research, and it turns out Living Dead dolls can be originals, i.e. made by Living Dead dolls, strictly a Living Dead doll, and doesn't have an origin outside of that. So while we know that Mezco likes to do licensing, at some point they probably decided, hey, let's make some of our own. Because, one, they don't have to, they can take the creative liberties with whatever they want to do. Two, they don't have to pay the royalties, which, if you're a for-profit company is probably good. But yeah, so this was an original. She's not based on anything that I'm aware of, or maybe she's based on something, but she's definitely not from something. She's not a licensed product in the sense that, like the Nun or Freddy or things like that. And yeah, well, I'm sure we'll see some more original ones down the line. I will say, when I was looking her up though, she did have a variant. So there is another Lydia the Lobster Girl floating out there in the world, no pun intended, that has different colored hair and clothing. It's still technically Lydia the Lobster Girl, but I believe she's got like black hair and more of a gothic look. I think it would be the equivalent to like a Chase Funko Pop. So, yeah, there she goes again. Let's see. So after those, we'll move on to something a little not Living Dead doll, because we don't want to wear out that market. Next, we have got a Friday the 13th prop replica mask. So, first things first, this is beautiful. This is done by NECA, who are the National Association of Entertainment Collectibles? Other way around. National Entertainment Collectible Association. Dyslexic moment. And there are a lot of companies out there that are making toys of licensed material, but I will tell you that two of the names that are probably the most synonymous when we think of licensed material in this world are NECA and Mezco. So, the Walmart to the Target, so to speak. But, yeah, NECA, I'll say the only difference is I think Mezco has more cohesive, specific lines of toys that they're going for, like the Living Dead dolls. So technically, Jason here is a real toy, REEL toy, like from a movie. But real toys from NECA aren't targeted specifically at movies, even though you would think they are. It's really more collectibles that are geared specifically at toy enthusiasts. So downside to this guy, while some of our collectibles are rarer and harder to come by, even if the Friday the 13th #1 replica mask is hard to come by, the problem is NECA has probably done a mask for every Jason movie, and a lot of them are relatively similar. They don't change too much. I mean, you know, they start to like tweak them a little bit to signify like that they're from a particular movie, but it gets to the point where, you know, you make 1 million of each of the masks, and there's 10 different masks. If you're a Jason, unless you're a diehard Jason fan, you might buy one of these and be okay. I can tell you that the value on this thing isn't particularly high. It retailed for about $40. I didn't see any online, and it's probably because they're easy to come by, so people aren't hunting for them. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a beautiful piece. I'm not trying to knock it or anything. Just this particular one is probably relatively easy to come by. You know, even if it's not this specific one, I'm sure you could find Jason masks if you're a collector of them. The only upswing to something like this is NECA is good quality. So, you know, you might find a Jason mask at your Halloween store in the fall for $5, but it's probably crap quality. Alright, moving on from Jaybird there. Little bit of background on NECA. I mean, you know, other than the fact that they do licensed material, they came out they started up in 1996, so they're, I don't know, they're not super old, but they're not super new. And they're based out of Jersey, so a little bit of stateside love there, as compared to some of our other licensed product makers. I think their only other like big claim to fame in the last couple of years, in the late 2000s, they bought out an arm of Topps. Topps, like the trading cards, owned one of their sub companies is WizKids. And if you're any kind of collector of toys, or even play toy-based games, you know WizKids. WizKids make what are called hero clicks. I don't have any to show you at the moment, but they're usually like miniature figures that there's a game based around, and that is pretty strictly based around licensed characters. A lot of Marvel and DC hero clicks expansions. There have been others too, but so as of 2009, NECA owns WizKids, aka Hero Clicks. So if you know, the next time you see a Hero Click in the store and you're like, oh hey, it's the same people that made that Jason mask that the comic book dude was showing me and bad-mouthing on his video to promote things. Oh no, what the hell am I doing? What's next? What else? Our next piece. So we started with a Freddy today, and, you know, symmetry would dictate I should end with Freddy, but I'm not going to. Because we have another Freddy. But this one is much more... I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Probably much rarer than our Living Dead doll friend. So this is a Freddy Krueger Premier Motion Statue. And as much as I want to whip this bad boy out and show you how, you know, him flailing his arms, for the sake of posterity and to be able to say to somebody, yes, he is in fact mint in box, we're not going to do that. I'll show you the back too, though. That's got some images of his like motion. Like, he can stretch out, you can change his head, you can, you know, make him move about independently of you moving him. This is going to be a little bit more of a higher end, harder to find piece. I guess if I had to like tier collectibles and like easy to find, kind of hard to find, and, you know, very rare, this should be middle of the road. This piece, according to, he came out in 2017. So relatively new, but he's still, the eBay numbers on him are such that either he just retailed high or he, is holding his numbers, which aren't particularly high. But he comes from an interesting company called Factory Ent, which is short for Factory Entertainment. I'll be honest, in my run-ins selling toys, comics, and things in retail settings, I've never run into Factory Ent. They're much in the vein of our Dracula last week, our Christopher Lee Dracula that was a Hammer toy and had no company behind it other than Hammer. I've never seen a Factory Entertainment piece before, and it's another one of the reasons why this makes me want to just bust this bad boy open. But I'm a man of my word, so if I tell somebody this is new, I have to be able to believe it and know it myself. But doing some research about Factory Entertainment, they do deal in licensed material. What a shock! But the interesting thing I noted about them is they deal in both music memorabilia and entertainment is what they lumped everything into. That was anything, movie, comic, etc. But yeah, music too. So you might run into we got a guest star here? Star-Lord. You guys didn't meet Star-Lord. She's a legendary outlaw. I know. You want to play with stuff. Alright. Lost my train of thought here. Factory Entertainment, though. So yeah, who knows? Maybe at some point down the line, I don't know if this particular collection that I've been going through has any music figures, but if they do, anybody want to take bets? If I come in here with an Elvis figure, is it going to be Factory Ent? You decide. Alright. Our next piece. Oh, where are we? Next piece is going to be this lovely Hit Girl. Any of you guys remember Hit Girl? She was the girl that all the nerd guys wanted when they saw Kick-Ass for the first time. This is in a series called Real Action Heroes. So this is one of those action figures, that's way more than an action figure. It's got interchangeable pieces, weapons, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have a limited number on it, but it is a 1/6 scale. I would wager that it is still some kind of limited. They probably didn't make too many of these. This is another one of those companies. Maybe we'll see more of this in the future. I'm not familiar with it. It's called Medicom Toys. And she was issued in 2015, so this is probably a little bit harder to come by now, 5 years later. And I guess it all depends on the level of interest for Kick-Ass memorabilia on any given day. The eBay numbers are favorable on this. It's anywhere between $70 all the way up to $225. If I had to guess, something like this probably retailed for between $100 and $150. So, profit was made on this, or likely will be made on this. But beautiful piece for any lover of Hit Girl, Kick-Ass, or any combination of the two. We'll get back to Medicom Toys. I tried doing my research on this one, but it eluded me. At least in any sort of lengthy way to be able to share. We've got 2 more pieces for this session, guys. So the last time we had a Artifacts Kodabukaya, which is like one of those assemblable figures. It was like an import from Japan, and it was a Star Wars figure. It was General Grievous. So, if you're a big Star Wars fan, General Grievous may mean something to you. My Star Wars love is low to midland. So I think about General Grievous about as much as I think about I don't know, any other easily forgettable character on another thing where I should be thinking of another character. That is the case because we have another Star Wars Artifacts Kota Bukaya today. But this one is a much more known, much more beloved figure. This is our boy Boba Fett. And this was actually in a series, a Bounty Hunters series, where I believe there were six figures in total, where you can combine their bases to make like sort of a one super statue. It also says this is version 2 of Boba Fett. I'm kind of curious to see what version 1 looks like, because I can only imagine the value of something like that. Still no limited numbering, but this is Artifacts. It is Kota Bukaya. It was issued in all the way back in 2008. So 12 years old at this point. This is going to be the same level of hard to find as Grievous, but ratcheted up a little, I think, in my own opinion, because Boba Fett. You could live under a rock, and there are several names that are synonymous with Star Wars, and Boba Fett is one of them. Which, that being said, some combination of it being Boba Fett, this being old, and the resurgence in characters such as this after the release of the Mandalorian show from Disney Plus leads me to believe something like this is rare, hard to come by, and of value. And that is reflected in the eBay numbers, because the cheapest one of these was $425. And I think this probably retailed for about $200, maybe a little less, 12 years ago. I know today, for sure, something Kota Bukaya Artifacts related would be about $200. So yeah. So our last piece is going to be a little hard to look at. I'm going to do my best to showcase what I can from it. Let's see here. So, this piece right here comes from an exclusive collectible place called the Bradford Exchange. Every single one of their pieces come with certificates of authenticity. They are, if not individually numbered, at the very least, they limit the number of days that the castings are being used to make these things. I can only imagine how many individual pieces are sculpted and made from a single casting. But if you tell me 295 casting days, I would average out somewhere in the 4 to 5. Star-Lord, what you doing? 4 to 5 range a day for how articulated these things are. I don't know if you can tell from what this says, but this is an alien illuminated sculptural clock. So think, Ridley Scott, Alien, giant xenomorph creature thing. Again, for the sake of posterity, I'm trying to keep everything new, so whoever gets their hands on these things can open them as if they're theirs for the first time. I will show you what I can, because while... Okay, so... Right in there, you can see our giant xenomorph friend. You can see sort of the platform that it's on. And you can't see it, but I've looked at the pictures for this, and there's a giant digital clock that goes from the top to the bottom there, that comes up in a beautiful orange LED. Beautiful piece. for any lover of aliens. Yeah, wow. If you could see the detail on this thing, the ridges, the claws, everything. Oof. I mean, aliens don't quite do it for me, but if you were a lover of the xenomorphs, this would give you some sort of joygasm, we'll call it. We'll put that away. But yeah, so what were we talking about? Bradford Exchange. And actually, the limited numbering on this one is number 186. I don't think we've really run into this yet. When I get my hands on a piece that does have it, I'll show you guys. In my experience, it shouldn't matter what the number is of a particular statue if it's out of a certain numbering, but collectors seem to believe that the lower the number, the higher the value, because that means it was older. I don't know, when you're making statues or collectibles off of a particular mold, the belief is that, I guess with anything, the more you use it, the less quality there is to it. It's, I guess, the best way I can put it. So people imagine that if they're getting, a figure under 100 out of like 3,000 copies, they're getting something where the mold to create it is very spot on. Low amount of errors, if any. So yeah, but when we get something like that, I'll show you guys that. But other than that, that's our session. So if you like the stuff I'm sharing, if you like the silly way that we're going about this, or you're just interested in getting that nostalgia goodness out of some of these things that you maybe owned, have, seen, and always kind of wanted some info on, or just straight up want to buy, and seeing it in this video triggers that thought in your brain like, crap, I haven't seen that thing since it came out. Let's get my hands on it. Then keep coming back for more. But yeah, subscribe, check out those links, and I'll catch you next time. I've been your friendly neighborhood comic book dude, Nabil. See you next time.